my name is David Hurren. I'm the Managing Director of FESuffolk Limited, and that's a company of about one. That's me. So I actually contract, I do some military contracting as well as writing Android software, Android apps basically, for smartwatches and for Android phones and tablets. Android script, which is this application here, is something I've been working on for a couple of years now in the background. I've been using the engine which is in this for my own applications for about 2 years. So after a while of using an engine, my own engine, which was written in Java, I decided, well, I might as well make this useful for other people. So I started to build a product, really, which I then released to people to make writing Android applications really simple. That was the idea. But still real coding, not drag and drop, point and click. Mainly, this particular version we're seeing here is the free version of Android script. So anyone who's got Android devices at home, how many people have got Android devices with your okay, tablets and phones? If you've got one, you can download this app for free. You just need to type, if you want to look for it, just type Android script, one word, don't put a space in it, because if you do, you won't find it, because it's just millions of things. It was, in hindsight, a bit of a mistake calling it Android script, probably, because you just can't find it. But it's too late now. So that's the free version, and really that's targeted generally at beginners and young people, mostly the free version. I'm actually a STEM ambassador as well, so I go into schools and teach kids how to program. In fact, I've just come here straight from a coding club at Stradbroke, where my wife teaches. So I'm teaching kids to use Android script. But it is really good for beginners, but you can get fairly advanced as well if you want to. If you know JavaScript, then your world is your oyster, really, because what Android script uses internally is really just the browser that comes in Android. So that was, up until recently, WebKit browser. You're probably all familiar with WebKit. The base for a lot of browsers for many years, but recently, Android with KitKat has been updated to the Chrome browser. So the web view component, which is part of the Android SDK, which everybody uses if you want to host your own web pages within your apps, that's now been upgraded to Chrome, which has many benefits, but some issues as well, which I came across, unfortunately. But one of the major benefits of using that engine is that as the standards change, as things improve, Google improves them, my app gets automatically updated all the time, improved. So you can do more or less anything you can do in browser land in Android script. But the advantage of Android script is it gives you access to native calls within. So basically it wraps up, it's a bit like PhoneGap. Anyone heard of PhoneGap? It's quite similar to PhoneGap. But it's really more aimed at more the native calls and design interfaces which call native elements of Android. So you get more access to native functionality than you do with PhoneGap. PhoneGap really meant to make the GUIs generally in web technologies, and you do a little bit if you're lucky, if you get the right plugin to sort of play about with actual hardware. This is really targeted more on the access and the hardware. So you can access the GPS, the accelerometer, you can access the camera, you can access Bluetooth, and serial Bluetooth, you can control devices, which I'll give you a little demonstration of in a bit as well. So that's the free version. The pro version will be coming very soon. A free version currently, you have to, if you create an Android script application, you have to have Android script installed on your device to run it. So you can wrap up your programs, your apps, and email to your mate, and you can run it as long as you've got Android script installed. I suppose it's a bit like having Flash installed or something like that. But with the pro version, you'll be able to build your own APKs on board. Well, that's the other thing I should mention. The difference between Android script and many other IDEs for Android is you can use Android script anywhere you are. You can use it on the bus, on the train, on the way to work, if you're stuck in a queue somewhere. But you can also use it using your PC, and hopefully demonstrate that later as well. So it's quite flexible from that point of view. So this is Android script. Now, obviously, that's the simplest app possible, Hello World app. So I'll show you that running. So I'm just going to launch that. It's got its own launcher. It's a bit like having the Android has the app icons, which are stolen from Apple probably. So we've got a simple Hello World, press me out, hit hit press the button. You can't see it on the screen. There's actually a button there which is in dark grey, but it doesn't really show up on there. So it says how well. Actually, that vibrates the tablet as well if it has a vibrate motor in it. This one doesn't actually. This is an Nexus 7. So I'll close that. If I want to actually look at the code and edit the code on there, you can see a long click on the icon and you can see a pop-up menu there. So if I want to edit that, I'm going to edit. Can we see that? So I'm just going to zoom in. It should be fairly familiar to people. So in Android script you have a global object, which is the app object. So if you want to do anything native, you would basically call app dot something. So it follows very much. Has anyone used Android SDK at all? How many Java programs have you got? Okay. Anyway, it follows roughly the Android SDK in generally in structure, but it's much simpler. So you probably get roughly a 10-to-1 ratio of lines of code. So if you're going to write 10 lines of what you normally write into the Android SDK, you can normally write it in one line of code in here. So it really accelerates Android development basically, and it makes it a lot easier because it's in a simple, familiar language like JavaScript as well. Now some people scoff at JavaScript, they're not serious programming language. You guys won't, because you're all a lot of web developers, but I usually point out the fact when it comes to performance is what they often point out, but with the V8 engine, which is actually coming into, which is in Chrome and is now in the WebView component, which this is based on in KitKat. KitKat is the latest version of Android, by the way, if you don't know that. That is actually compiled, so JavaScript is now compiled to native machine code, so it really can go rocket fast. So there's not a problem with performance internally in the engine anyway. So I've wrapped up all the APIs. If you were a Java developer, you'd be quite familiar with this. So in Android, you create layouts. So I've created a layout at the top there. I'm creating a linear layout because I want it to go in all the objects dropped in that layout to go in a line. I can create vertical, horizontal, linear layouts and set options on it. And I'm creating an image. You can see create image there. And I'm loading one from a subdirectory. This is going to happen quite a lot, isn't it? I need to just quickly set the timer on this one. Display. Sleep. I think we're going to go for 30 minutes. So I've created an image there, loaded it from a subdirectory within the application, which is just folders on the actual device, on the SD card, the internal SD card on the device. I set margins, I can then add that particular image to the layout, and then I do the same thing with the button. Is it fairly obvious? You can see how it works. It's pretty simple, basically. Like that, and then I can set a touch callback. So it uses the callback paradigm, which is very popular these days. Obviously, we're talking Node.js and popularity growing of that. JavaScript and the callbacks or paradigms are becoming very popular, and it's very good because you don't have the problems which you do on Windows in terms of the GUI locking up. So you do things in callbacks so that when what Android script will do is it will do things in the background if they're long tasks, and then it will call back to you when they're ready. So it stops you locking up the GUI. We can see it created an on-touch callback there, so when the button is touched, it then shows a pop-up hello world and then vibrates. The vibrate pattern, which will work on a phone, doesn't actually work on tablets, there's no vibration in this. So that is a fairly simple hello world application. So what you get with Android script is some documentations. So we have a built-in documentation, so when you're on the bus or the train, you can still check through and read the docs. That is actually rendered itself using WebView. So in Android script, you can actually use WebViews internally in your programs and then pull in web content. So if you're a web developer, you can just use a normal web skill you want. You can use JSON, you can use your jQuery, all those utilities that you normally use. That's what I'm doing here actually. This is actually jQuery mobile generating these docs. And just so you know, Android script itself is written in Android script. So I wrote the Android script engine, and then I started building this application, the GUI, basically, in Android script. So there's a large script in there, it's quite long, which actually runs this out. So it shows what you can do with it. You can run professional applications with it if you want to. So if I look at layouts, it explains layouts, and the documentation has I'm quite proud of this. This is what I call active documentation. So if I pop out this explanation of vertical layouts here, and you can copy that, hit copy, or copy all, copy, just single copy, or copy the bold line there. If you do copy all, you copy the whole bit, and then you can then paste that. You can slide the docs out of the way, paste it into your code if you want to, if you've got your code in it. Or you can actually run that sample there and just, in docs, actually see what it does. There's actually 3 grey buttons there. It doesn't show up on the visualizer, but there's 3 grey buttons in a row there. That's a vertical linear layout. Lots of other samples in there. So there's lots of samples in the documentation. Let's look at an image. Let's find an image. So there's a simple image, and we can run that sample. Just a little Android there. Okay, so that's the docs. Oh, there's also, for those of you who are beginners of JavaScript, I know there's at least one of you here. In the documentation we have a basic introduction to JavaScript here. So this explains it from the real basic statements, what statements are, and then takes you through comments, variables, expressions, data types, conditional statements, explaining how it all works. So it should be quite good stuff for beginners. Like I said, this is really, the free version is really aimed at sort of 12 to 14-year-olds or beginners. A lot of 12 to 14-year-olds in schools at the moment are actually learning how to program. It's actually part of the curriculum now. So this sort of thing can be quite useful. I actually know a teacher in Reading who's an AQA moderator, and she's actually seriously considering using Android script as part of her curriculum, because under the AQA, of course, they're allowed to use any programming tool they want, as long as they produce some sort of product at the end of it, which teaches them how to code. So they'll learn JavaScript, obviously, if you use it. But the Pro version will have a lot more complex samples and will be aimed at people who are a bit more seasoned JavaScript developers. And we have the samples on the other side, and this gives you, there's lots of samples here, so it's quite an easy way of starting Graph is based on a sample, because there's usually a sample that's fairly similar to what you're doing and give you a head start really. So there's basic Hello World one. We've got a simple sample here, which just demonstrates all the controls that are available. Again, they don't show it very well on here because they're all dark. They're using the dark view Android theme here. They don't show it very well. Shows you how to use all the controls. This box is buttons and that sort of thing. Let's see something a bit more interesting. We've got an image rotate example there. That loads an image and then spins it. So we've got Android within an Android. So there's a PNG over the top there of another PNG. You can spin, translate, rotate. You can do all the matrix multiplication, matrix transformations you would do using either matrices yourself, or you can just call spin, rotate, stretch, that sort of thing.
Sorry, I might have missed. Is this a web view, or is that?
No, everything I'm showing you is not a web view. I will show you a web view in a minute.
Okay.
Nothing you've seen at the moment, apart from the documentation, is a web view.
Okay.
So this is all native. So these are creating native Android objects, images, layouts, views. So you'll get native performance. That's one of the benefits. You may have noticed when I was going through documentation, it was slightly slow to respond. It's probably not easy to see on the visualizer, but actually slightly sluggish. That's because at the moment, well, this isn't a brand new device. It's probably a bit better on the latest Nexus, but this is the older model of the Nexus. They're not quite caught up with web technologies, really, actually. Devices. They get a lot quicker now. But you'll get native performance when you call native functions. So I'm going to show you an example here, tilt and draw. This one is accessing, so this is again native, and it's asking me to hold the screen flat, and it's just starting to draw a line there, if you can see that. It's like an extra sketch, and that's just accessing the accelerometers in the device. To draw on the screen, simple example of how to access the accelerometers. If you look at the code, we can see there's let's find the accelerometer. There's that line there, that section there, that initiates, creates an accelerometer, and then sets some callbacks, starts it, and then at the bottom you've got the on-change callback. You get your X, Y, Zs. You can decide what you want to do with that. So it's pretty simple to access the accelerometers.
Sorry, that could be a pain.
That's all right.
Are you using OpenGL in that?
No.
Draw? Or
No.
Good.
That's using Canvas, I think. Oh no, that's using that's using built-in camera. So in what you get in Android is images you can access them through a canvas object. So you can treat a normal bitmap like a canvas. You can draw all over it.
Okay.
And in Android script, I give you access to images, so you could load a normal JPEG and draw all over it if you want to. Or you can even pump video from the camera if you want to, as well. So I give you access to audio as well. I've got a simple sample audio player sampler. If there's any music on this device, or there is, there we go. So I've got very simple media player here. So give a bark or something there. No, there is bark. And we can skip around in that. Change the volume. So you could rate your own little media player if you wanted to. That uses the built-in media player functionality of Android. It's just sort of just wrapping up and making it easy to use. We've got audio synthesis. No, that's not audio synthesis. Yes, it is. That's a synthesizer. So we've got a software synthesizer. That's a bit loud. We can mess about with VCFs. Enable that, change the sound. Phasers. Delays. I bring in a delay and echo. Anyway, that's just an example of what you can do with software synthesizer. You can make game sounds basically. So you could write games in this as well. So I'm just trying to find out a game sample. From basic games, so we go to the basic invaders type game here. Oops. Simple space invaders game. You can use the tilt sensors in there. Explodes. Dead easy. It's probably the simplest games you can make. It gets faster and faster when it gets to the bottom and it explodes. There's a simple game there. We can do, you'll recognise this game. Flappy. Dead. That's Flappy Eagle. My son did the graphics for this one. But you can write your own Flappy Bird clone. If you want to get rid of it, everyone else tries to. But you won't do that because millions of people have written it. That's the Flappy Eagle.
At least you can get through the first set of pillars. I can't.
I can do 7 on the original. 7. And after that, it's too much waste of time. Text to speech, alright, one more thing, I'll do one more sample. So there's probably no...
Hello world.
There we go. Okay, so you can make it say what you want as well. So kids have great fun with that at schools. Imagine what it's like when I hand out a tablet and the kids find that. It's rude messages popping out all over.
Is that the native built-in Android?
That's it, yeah. Native one. You find the different devices sound different, so that actually Android one's not so good. The LG one is really impressive. Actually, my wife's got an LG G2, and it sounds like a real woman in the phone.
Quick question, sorry. With regards to the games, can you actually create a grid system where you move the blocks around to complete the full image? You know, like the old handheld square things you used to
In
have.
fact, somebody was asking me that same question because I think there was an exam question regarding that. Yes, you could. Of course, you could do that all in JavaScript as well. In fact, I should show you that. So there it's all native. Now, if you want good performance, you want speed. Actually, I'll just give you a demonstration of what sort of performance you can get. Probably won't be able to show them the visualizer because it's probably not going to be fast enough. I'll try. Yeah, feel free to just button and ask questions at any point. Can you see this? So, you can see it's not very clear, is it? You can see that's got, so I'll bring it around and show you it. I know I'm not going to camera, but I think I can see that. So, this is a friend of mine wrote this. So you can see you've got traditions, space flying game, explosions and sounds going on. I mean that's the sort of thing you could just about sell. And that's all shown in JavaScript.
Is there any performance degradation from using your Android script using the native?
Yes, there is a bottleneck. If you wrote these apps in pure Android SDK land, or even better if you wrote them in C++, using the JNI stuff, it would be much faster. So there's a small bottleneck between Android script, because I'm using the WebView component as my engine. I have to call out that, same as PhoneGo has to. So there's that little bottleneck we call out between us. So you're going to get some performance issues. If you make too many calls, for say spinning an object, graphical object, you're going to get a bottleneck there. So that's where the problems would happen if you can have them. I've worked hard to actually get around these problems. For example, I batch all the calls in there. So that game is written, you just saw there, is written in a traditional sort of game loop fashion. So it clears the screen, it draws all the objects, and then it throws them all to the screen, and it goes around again, clears the screen, moves an object a tiny bit, and then redraws a whole lot. And where I've increased performance is try to stop too much going between the engine and the native Android world. I've batched things. So what happens is when you make all those drawing calls, it just stores them all up in a big list in memory, and then when you hit the draw function, or diagram, it's called, that will then bang them all down at once. So it makes one call, so it optimizes it so you can get enough speed. I had a big problem when it moved to KitKat originally, because KitKat I was expecting to be rocket fast because it's got the V8 engine in it. And of course it was rocket fast internally. All the JavaScript code internally in the browser is super fast, but calling out suddenly got really slow. It was a nightmare because my apps went to about a third of their speed. And the reason is they've changed the architecture of threading in KitKat. It's got the Chrome engine in there. They've obviously changed the balancing of the threads and things like that. So actually the calls externally slowed down by like 3 times. So that's a bit of a shock. So I had to come up with this batching mechanism, but actually, luckily, the batching mechanism has actually solved the problem. And it's made a massive boost to slightly older phones that aren't on KitKat. It's still not quite as fast as it used to be, but this is a year old, this phone now, so you know, with the modern phones and the batching with KitKat, you're not going to have a problem at all. You can get that sort of performance anyway. There's quite a lot of objects going on the screen at the same time. In fact, I can show you a little demonstration of there's a little performance test I do here. You can tell how fast your phone is by running this little demo. If you download Android script and run the bounce demo, so you can see. Can you see that? And if you can make lots of droids bounce, they should be making boing sounds as well. This version doesn't have any. And still maintain 30 frames a second, then it's fairly reasonable performance for games. If you do that on my set, I've got a Sony Z Ultra, you can get about twice as many bounces with that because it's extremely fast, more than the phone. This is the S4. Not old, but it's falling behind. It's amazing how rapidly, isn't it? They're changing now.
So would you say it was suited best for doing games like that, or would it be equally suited to application development?
Equally suited to application. It's not designed to run games. It's not designed to run web apps. It's meant to be generic, so it can be a tool you can use to write any apps. That's the idea. That's partly why I like the idea of it being used in education, because it's not narrow. It teaches general programming principles, and you can write any type of app you want, including things I'm going to show in a minute. In fact, now let's go and play with some of these toys with. Not just sort of web apps, GUIs, games, you can actually control them as well. NXT, this is very popular in schools, it has been over many years. It's quite an expensive toy. Anyone got this? Yeah, it's about 200 quid or something. It's quite an expensive Lego toy, but it's really cool. You write programs normally with this on your PC, download them to a brick here. What I've done, in fact, I'll get this running. I've allowed you to control the brick through Bluetooth, so it's a Bluetooth protocol here, so you can send commands from Android script to do this through Bluetooth and take control of it, so you don't need to bypass the normal programming tool. And use your phone as the brain instead. Now, of course, your phone is far superior to the little brain in this thing. You've got all the sensors in it. You've got GPS, you've got accelerometers, you've got a camera, you've got a light on it, you've got Bluetooth, GPRS, Wi-Fi, everything you can think of. These things are amazing nowadays. You stick that on your robot, and you've got your super brain, you know, compared to what this is normally with. And it doesn't just. You could use these Android script to make any type of robot really as well, because not just this sort of thing, because we have, I'll show you in a minute, this Esprit board, that allows you to stick lots of servers on it, so you can make your own walking robots with vision and things like this as well. So I will try and get this running. This one, I'll find the right hat. There he is. So my little face there. Actually, this is the world's first smartwatch controlled robot. This is version 2 of it anyway. I made another one about a year ago. It was a slightly older model, just upgraded to bits of it, but he's still the same fella. So you can see there, you've actually got a camera view there. I can see you guys, he's looking at you. And what we should be able to do, Android script, the Pro version, you will be able to write smartwatch applications as well. And this is a Sony Smartwatch 2. Quite a cool watch actually, if anyone's interested in getting a smartwatch. It's probably the best one on the market at the moment. The Samsung ones, well for developers anyway, the Samsung ones are nice, but they're not quite as mature at the moment. This is the third version Sony have done. You can get different colours and get metal straps and things as well. It's a bit maddening. My wife won't wear one of these because it's a bit maddening. So with Android script you can actually write, let's see if I can actually get this on the visualizer so you can see it. Now, by the way, if anyone wants to know, the Pro version will be probably about $5, so I will be charging for that. I'm not necessarily planning to become a millionaire, but I need to fund development of Android script somehow, and that's what I will be doing. So, where's the zoom? Oops. Is it autofocus?
We'll find out. Yes, that's it.
Okay. So I'm going to hit that. That's the Android script icon on there. So then what it does then is shows me 3 icons. So I've got 3 smartwatch apps running on that phone. Bottom one, well, I'm going to put the name on that one. So I'm going to go for the robot one. I'm going too slow. What do you tell me? Robot one. There we go. Can you see that? You can see yourselves. So what's happening is the phone is beaming back over Bluetooth the video of you guys sitting there from the Android's head, the robot's head. Now, well, not only that, is I've also got Bluetooth linked to the NXT brick, so when I press on the screen here, oh, not yet. I have to first connect to the NXT, hopefully it'll beep. There we go. Touch the screen now. There it goes. So we've got the remote presence robot effectively there. And drag him down the corridors, or down the street, and look at what he's looking at. I can go a lot faster than this. I've got to go slow at the moment, so I don't want to drop him off the table, especially with my Galaxy S4 on his head. Someone catch him if he goes. So, there you go. So that's one thing you can do. So you can, that's great for education. You've got a lot, like I said, lots of schools have NXT. You've got it at home, you can show your kids how you can take control of your NXTs yourself. So that's that application. So that is a Bluetooth connection. That's a specialised API. People always like the gadgets. Stay quiet and just show them the screen. As soon as you get gadgets. Okay, I've got some more gadgets already. Now, what was I just talking about? We were talking about, oh yes, the NXT. So you can see here, if I zoom out, there's actually quite a lot of NXT samples there. So there's a lot of apps you can build, control NXT robots. The new EB3 as well, I'm working on that so you can control the latest generation of those. So that's the slightly older generation. Okay, so that uses a specialised component built into Android script to talk over Bluetooth, but there is a generic serial Bluetooth commands as well available. So what I'm going to do is try and get another device going, which is this other one over here. So this here, you can see that. That's an Esprino board, and that's really cool actually. Has anyone heard of Arduino? Yeah. It's like Arduino, but much simpler. Because you don't have to write C++ or strange type of C++, which you do with Arduino. It's actually JavaScript, so you can write JavaScript code using set timeout and set interval and all sorts of things you're familiar with on there, which makes it really easy to program. And you can plug that in to your Chrome browser on a PC or a Mac or a Linux machine, and then communicate with it over the serial or via USB, and you can program it straight in the browser. Just 10 commands to it, and it will immediately act on them, so you can tell, say Bluetooth, no, say LED 1 on, and it will just turn it on straight on instantaneously, so you can execute JavaScript immediately from the browser. Or you can download JavaScript programs to it and save them in the flash memory, and it will remember them. So you can unplug it. You've got a little device there, and you can attach things to it. It supports. Anyone know anything about electronics? Yeah. It supports SPI. It supports I2C. Normal GPIO, simple ones, on and off time switches. Serial. Just about everything you think of. Particularly interesting is PWM. So it's got quite a few PWM controllers in, which means you can control servos. So you could attach a bunch of servos to that and make a robot if you want to. Stick an Android tablet phone on it, and you've got a little thinking GPS tracking robot if you wanted to. That's the sort of thing I'll be doing quite soon, hopefully. I just bought myself a 3D printer, so that's the sort of thing I'm hoping to do. But in the meantime, we'll show you this demo. So what I've got here, hopefully this will work. I have some LED strips here, and they're tricolour LED strips. They're getting quite popular these days. You buy these in Maplin in the UK. They're all over the world, and lots of manufacturers make them. You can stick them all over your house or around your kitchens. So I've seen people put them into the kitchen cupboards, so you can then light up the kitchens. But because they're tricolour, you can choose you can have any colour you want, because they've got red, green, and blue in there. You can make them flash, pulse, or you can have them flash into your music, and all sorts of cool stuff. So what we've done here is we've got an Espruino board controlling it. We've got, I'm using 3 PWM outputs off the Espruino board here. So it's a very simple circuit, there's just 3 transistors here, and they will access and turn on the red, green and the blue parts. It's all in parallel, these little LEDs. And we're going to take control of it. There's also a little this Espruino doesn't come with a Bluetooth module by default, so you just solder them on, but they're very cheap. HC05, you can get them from eBay for about £5. And you just solder them, and it's like 6 solder spots you just put on them, and then it's on. Simple. So you can turn it into a little sort of remote device. And the cool thing about the Espruino is it's very low power consumption if you're not using Bluetooth anyway. It will last something like 3 months off one of these batteries. Very low current, so you can have it sitting there just monitoring the environment or just reading something. It takes flash, little flash cards as well, so you can store data. It even runs a web server in it, so if you want to do any IoT stuff. IoT, familiar with that? That's getting quite popular these days. Internet of Things, you must have heard that on the internet. Everyone's talking about it. Basically, this is a little device that allows you to do that sort of thing. So you can either solder a Bluetooth module on the back or a Wi-Fi module.
So you've got Wi-Fi.
Yeah, C3000 I think it's called. There's a Wi-Fi module you can stick on the back of it, and then you've got a little Wi-Fi board. Obviously, the power consumption will go up a lot more on Wi-Fi, so the battery will.
Can you switch it on and off though programmatically?
Oh yeah, of course.
So you could just use it when you need.
It can go into very low power sleep mode.
Just want it to sort of
wake up.
Yeah,
wake up yourself and send some out. Yeah, there's all sorts of possibilities. So I'd recommend you to have a look at that if you're at all interested in electronics. And it doesn't take an expert. There's lots of helpful stuff online how to do it. As long as you can solder, that's all you need to be able to do. You just solder a few things here and there. Like I've just soldered 3 pins and stuck those on. I soldered the Bluetooth module on the back. So after all that, let's see if I can get actually running. So I'm going to run it out here. Get my phone again. Let's see that. Right. And we need, I've got too many apps here. Espruino LEDs, that looks like you, isn't it? I'm going to hit connect. Hopefully, there we go, it's connected. So you might have just noticed there's a little light started flashing on there. So if I hit this button here, look, power turn on.
That's it. It's connected.
Is that a socket? It's worked earlier today. It's flashing. It sounds like it might be a loose connection somewhere. It's been rattling out of my bag a bit. Oh no, it has snapped. Okay, let's see if I can just... Unfortunately, that's bent and snapped. Oh, sorry about that, guys. There is a video online. You go to my website, which is my YouTube channel, which is Android Script. If you just type Android Script one word into YouTube, you'll see that working. There's me demonstrating that in my hotel room. Unfortunately, on the way here, it's got snapped. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, let's see if we can get the sphere working now. I'm tempting fate now. Run out of battery or something. Okay, it's woken up. Is it safe from that height?
Put it on the floor.
Somebody's catch that.
Put it on the floor.
Okay. Now, one thing I haven't talked about yet is how many different time am I going on for too long?
Fine, yeah.
Is plugins. Okay, the reason I asked if any of you guys are Java programmers is you can write plugins for Android script. Now this is what I'm hoping a lot of people, hardcore Java programmers, will come along and write plugins for Android script. So I've written the core engine, but really for it to take off it needs plugins. It needs people to add access to lots of different devices, databases, and add tools in it. And all it really is having a jar file dropped into the right folder underneath Android script. And then you can have a plugin. So I've got here, what happens when you put a plugin in the right place in Android script? You put a jar file and you put an HTML file with your documentation in, and it will pick it up automatically and build it in. So you can see here, there's one for the sphere I've been writing. So the documentation is picked up and read automatically from the subfolder, and then you can write your own docs and you get the same sort of format documentation as well. So it integrates into the documentation. So
have you got a SDK?
I do have an alpha at the moment of an SDK for plugins, yes. So if anyone's interested in taking that, or know anybody who's a hardcore JavaScript programmer, you don't have to be hardcore, but yeah, a JavaScript, not JavaScript, Java programmer. The only thing is, it is currently not Eclipse based. The reason I've been saying hardcore is because it's command line using the Ant build tool, but you get a complete set of batch files in to build. As long as you've got Ant system installed into your Android SDK, it will work. So this one is built doing that, and I'm hoping this one's going to work. Let's see. Where is the sphere? There he is. So this one will, in theory, connect to the sphere. Because he's still away. Is he gone quiet? Just tap him quite hard twice. I should have tried that one before I came. It may not work. Has he got? Maybe his battery's running out. I didn't have. I've been so busy because I was running this school thing today. I didn't have time to actually check if he's charged up. It's still flashing, is it?
No, he's going red. Flashing red. And then dies.
I think he's died. Oh dear. Sorry. Anyway, you can control him. I haven't got a YouTube video of him running. You can have him driving all over the floor, but I suspect that he's actually run out because if he. Responding back well. No, you should keep flashing. Okay, so you can write plugins to control different devices or add library utilities of your own. So So I'm hoping some people will do that and add extra functionality. Anything you're particularly good at, you can bring your expertise to the party. That's what I'd like to see. Because it's way too much work for one person to do, really. I'm absolutely maxed out full bandwidth at the moment, and I really want this to build a community around this. I've got a guy I'm hopefully recruiting. If he hands his notice in tomorrow, he will be joining me. But there's still too much work for two guys to do, and there's a lot to do. There's quite a community building up. There's a forum. If you go on Google Groups, you'll see there's quite a lot of people involved in that, people sharing scripts and giving each other help on there. There's a Twitter feed as well, you can keep up with what's going on. The latest version with those fixes for KitKat is not out yet. That'll be coming out in the next few days, hopefully. So if you've got KitKat, you might notice the games run a bit slow, but don't worry, they will get faster when I do the new release. I'm hoping to build a Git-based, Git-backed app sharing website. So what will happen is you can use GitHub, and they've got GitHub SDK, so we're going to hopefully build that into Android script and hide it all the complexity away, so people will just be able to say, I want to share this script, press a button, and their app will go up on there, and then other people will be able to comment on it and leave ratings on it and that sort of thing, so people get to share. You can already share your scripts with each other. So I should show you, actually, I'll just quickly show you. If you've got an app you built on, so to create a new app, you go new like this, and I call that my app. You get a new app there, and you long click to edit it, but also you can long click to go create a shortcut like that. And that will create a shortcut on the backdrop. You can change the icon of that. If you put an image, PNG image in the subfolder of your application, that will then change to that particular icon. Also, you can share it. So if you share by email, you share by Gmail, it will zip up your app and create an SPK. That's my own format I've invented. Basically a script package. It's like an APK, but it really just contains all your resources and your main script. And you can email it to somebody. If they've got Android script and they receive it, if they click on that attachment, it will just automatically go into Android script and they can run it. It will ask them if they're sure they trust this person in the world. So you need to make sure you trust people you receive these from. Or certainly glance through the code and make sure they're not deleting LSD files.
Just wondering, does it need root access as an app itself on your
No,
device?
absolutely not.
Oh, okay, cool.
No, I never root my devices because I want to make sure they work for everybody. Okay. Now, one more thing I should show you. One of the coolest bits. I'm going to have to show you because we haven't got the video projector connection. I can show you out in front. But if I click this button at the top here, that will enable the Wi-Fi. And you notice that gives me an IP address there. So you go into your browser on your Mac or your Chromebook or your PC, and then you can start editing things and more easily than you would edit on there. Did I show you editing on there? So you can edit on there using the built-in editor, text editor on there. It's a bit fiddly. It's okay for tweaking around little programs, adding a few lines here and there. But if you want to do any serious coding, you want to be using this. So this here, I think you guys can see that. My head's right. So this now is connected via Wi-Fi to Android script. It should be anyway. So if I refresh that, because it's just shut down recently. You can see that. I'll give it away. Reload this page. There we go. So it's picked up. Hello, well done. Picks up the last app you were using. There's my app, that's the one I was just creating just now, so you can see the code in there. So it's a lot easier to code like this. So you can cut and paste, move around, and then you've got the samples up here, you can cut and paste between the two. We also have a debug log as well, so here you can see what's going on. So if I take, well, let's just load up Hello World, because there's probably more going on than that app I just created. Hello World. actually execute that. Runs it, there it goes. So you can run your code easily, stop and start it really quickly, really easily. And here, I'll run that again, and you can see the debug log coming out there. So if I can clear the debug log, I'll actually come in there. I'll skip that. Work on Hurren. So debug coming out?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see what's going on. Now, one of the good things about using it this way as well is not only is it easy to type things, you've got access to your assets. So in here, if I want to upload assets, I can upload HTML files, sound files, any miscellaneous files I want to. So I can.
Can you see them on the device as well? So you can get to the edit function via device on there. But can you also upload the items on there? Or
If you're going to work on a device, you want to get assets on when you're on the device, you just put them in the right subfolders.
Okay, right.
Just a subfolder, there's a folder on the SD card, internal SD card called Android script, and under there you have other folders with the name of each application. It's quite simple when they say that. And under there you have images. If you've got images in there, they'll be in the images folder, HTML files and HTML files. You just organise like that. And everything has to be under the app name folder, and when you zip it up and send it as an SPK file or build an APK file, it just grabs the whole folder, just crunches it all up. It's a very simple structure. So I could upload if I had any assets in there, I'd be able to upload some images. But I haven't, so I could, I've got time now, but I could just download images, stick them, and you can see them all in here, all the pictures. You see there's one there, that's why that icon is blue on the actual, on the launcher, because I've stuck it all out in there. So you can upload MP3s and OGG files and things like that in there as well. I didn't show a web view, there's probably one more thing to show you, which is a web view in action.
Question? Yeah, just quickly while you've got that. How do you go about sort of organising your code? Is it just one single script file per application
Right.
that you include?
For the free version generally, obviously when we're working with beginners, we keep it in a single file.
Yeah.
But for people who know a bit more about coding, there's a load script function which allows you to load external JavaScript files. So you would keep your own JavaScript files, create your little modules, the utility files next to your main file in the same subfolders.
Yeah.
And then you can call those in. And you can put them in any structure you want.
Yeah.
As long as they're below the main folder bearing the name of your app, they will get zipped up and sent using SPK or APK later on. And of course that means you can include jQuery or something like that in there if you wanted to.
Yeah.
External libraries. And just before we finish, I will show you, because you were asking about web-based samples. Where are they? There's a bunch of samples in here. There's a basic HTML viewer here. So this is really using a web view in 3 different ways. So you can see the create web view. There's 3 lines of code there that creates a web view. I should explain about the dimensions. So you notice it says 0.8, 0.8 on there. All the dimensions in Android script are done in fractions, so that it works on any size screen and any orientation. So 1, 1 would be filling the whole screen. So it's the width and the height is a fraction. So 0.5, 0.5 would be a quarter of the screen effectively. So if you did a web view that was 1, 1, it would fill the whole screen and it would just, your whole app would be a web view. And you wouldn't have to have any native components at all. You could just have a web app which accesses the accelerometer or the GPS, that sort of thing if you wanted to. So use web technologies that you're familiar with for the whole GUI, but then access the bits and bobs behind. So this example is blank. Yes, it starts blank, that's right. I was worried for a minute. So if I press the local, there's a button there called local, you can see that at the bottom. That will load a local HTML file. So you can see that banged in straight away because that's just a local. So obviously things will run a lot faster if you load them locally, they'll be almost instantaneous. That's just a local hello, it's just a very simple web page. Dynamic. That one, I say dynamic because if you looked back at the source code, it's generated on the fly and pumped in as a string. I just banged together HTML text, concatenated string as banged it in. And remote, that one, we'll try to connect to Google. And bring on Google. so you can access local or the internet. And of course you could access web services and things like that. And you can do all this sort of thing in the background as well if you want to see. Just remember that AndroidScript itself is actually running in a hidden Chrome web view. It's just like 1 pixel in the corner, effectively. Well, in fact, it's not even 0 pixels in the corner. So all the sort of things you normally use, like XH, HTML stuff, or the XML, JSON, the RESTful stuff, all the stuff you're familiar with, you can do in a Chrome browser, you can do in AndroidScript. It's easy to forget when you just see the native stuff, but you can do all that as well. XML HTTP object, I was thinking you can access that, so you can do loading pages in the background, etc. A couple more examples. Here's some, oh well, let's go to gauges. The gauges is quite nice. So this is using, there's not much code there, but that's because I'm relying on someone else's library, JavaScript library for doing HTML5. This is using the gauges HTML, which is a free library to do snazzy gauges. Ooh, aspect ratio is fine on this thing. That should be round, it is round on mine, on the tablet. So you can see there's a nice gauge there. That's a free library called Gauges, I think gauges.js, something like that. And it allows you to do a nice speedo, and I can switch to a temperature gauge. And this is done using HTML5, and it's quite nice the way it's using some of the, I don't know if you can see it on Visualize, but the needle bounces, you see that? Yeah. So it's using animations and things as well in there. But that's somebody else's work, so I'm just utilising that. So what I've got here, the top half of the screen is a web view with a black background, the bottom half is native. So this is a native slider, and that's a native combo block list. So you can mix the two worlds. I could have 4 web views if I wanted to. And native controls here, or complete web view, and no native controls. Or pop them up. You can even make web views transparent if you want to, so you can have text from web contents. And one thing I often use web views for is if you want formatted text, because the native components for Android don't support lots of fonts and underlines and all sort of fancy stuff. They do, it's not so easy. It's not so full support for all that sort of fancy stuff you might want to do, whereas the browsers do. So if you want nice curly text, fancy fonts and that sort of thing, or use SVG or any of those sort of technologies, you can put those in and put them into your apps. Take advantage. That's what I've done with the documentation, because it was easy to do it that way. They made use of the jQuery mobile APIs. So that's the gauges, and then we have graphs. This is making use of plot, jQuery plot, I think it's called, JQ plot, this one. So that draws graphs on the fly for you. You choose different types of graphs, curves, all that sort of thing, and that's dead easy to use. I think it just takes JSON objects and chuck them in. Also, we can get some feedback communication between the two, so the two worlds can communicate. So if I touch one of those, you can see the little pop-up telling me which segment I'm touching. So the two worlds can talk to each other, so you can fire JavaScript statements into the web view, and the web view can fire JavaScript statements back into the native container, so you can talk to one too if you want to as well. So I think that's just about it. Oh, one more thing. I keep saying one more thing. HTML server. There's a built-in HTML server. Obviously, I had to put an HTML server in here in order to do this thing here. That uses the Jetty server. So I've also provided that functionality. So if you want the pro version, you can have your own web server as well. And you can create your own little servlets as well, and they will call into your program. So you can run a web server in your phone and leave it somewhere and have people who can connect to it and turn things on. You can have a remote controlled kettle or something in your office or something like that if you want to do, or a remote temperature sensor to measure the voltage on your solar cells or something like that. What I was going to do actually was a Wi-Fi Christmas tree this year. I never got around to it. We do it next year. Using that thing there, connecting to a cheap Android phone, and then all the kids can come to school and then connect to it with an IP address and then change the colours of the Christmas tree. So that's sort of thing, quite doable. You can create your own little servers, plug them in. Camera functionality, yeah, I should show you that. Alright, quickly show you camera motion, and I really will end, I promise. Okay, so we've got, can we see that? That, let's that's flashing, bleeping away, because what that's doing is using motion detection. So you can access the front and back cameras. And I've got this little demo, change the sensitivity of it. I can change the matrix, so you can have an effective virtual matrix on the camera and decide how many cells we want, how many tiles, and then set the sensitivity. So if I move my hand into this, you should see it's detecting my hand coming in there. And you get back data telling you which cell movement has been detected in. Which you can then use that data. It just comes back as basically a JavaScript array of numbers. So you could then use that, and you could say build that into a robot. I was talking about robots before, so a robot move towards a motion or something like that, or track colour and that sort of thing. So there's all sorts of possibilities with motion. Or make your own security camera. In fact, there's an app I do sell for the smartwatch which uses the same functionality. It's called Watcher, and it allows you to remotely connect to your phone, and it has basically a personal security camera. You can be that about 40 metres away, or with a full range of Bluetooth, and then turn it on and you can see what's going on the camera. You can switch between front and back cameras and spy on people you want to. Well, the reason I came up with it is because the cat I was suspecting was climbing onto the kitchen surfaces. So I created this app so I can actually turn it on and spy on it. In fact, what it does is when it senses motion, it vibrates a watch, so you can actually look at it and see what it's up to. And it will also automatically snap photos as well, store them to the SD card. We can do that on Android as well, because all the functionality I ever add into my apps, it goes into here because it shares the same engine. So it's constantly being improved because I'm constantly writing apps. So it always gets updated and gets the latest bits and bobs chucked into it. So I think that's it, really. Any more questions?
So on like your library of components and your ability to write plugins, do you have like a facility for feature detection and for dependency management?
Feature detection as in plugins?
So, I don't know, say a phone didn't have a camera or that sort of thing.
Yes, to some degree. It's not perfect, but you can ask if it's something like, you can ask if the front camera is available on the device or not, with the back camera, only the back camera available. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah, those sort of things, there's some level of that. Generally, what I've actually needed to put in my own apps, I've added that sort of thing. This is still a growing API, it's still a beta product, but I'm basically adding things all the time, and like I said, I've got a new guy joining me. We'll be filling out, fleshing out a lot of these API calls, but if somebody starts using AndroidScript, what you need to do is send me an email and say, hey Dave, I need to detect whether it's got this or not, and I'll probably just bang it in, because I'm constantly working on it, and it's basically first come, first serve. Who shouts the loudest gets it in, you know. There are people who go on the forum, people say, I want this, want that, and usually, if two or more people ask for something, then it goes in the next time I'm in that area of code. So, yeah. And if I know you've got a better chance of getting it on your face.
Are you running this as a business, or are you going to start moving towards running this as kind of your job?
At the moment, it's not part of my business, but it will. I'm hoping it will fund itself. So a lot of what I've done is I'm doing a lot of STEM work, which is all voluntary. So I've bought a lot of equipment. I've bought lots of devices and things. These tablets, I've got 7 of these. I've got lots of Tesco Huddle. By the way, Tesco Huddle works quite well with this. It's a cheap way to, if you want to get an Android tablet, Tesco Huddle, if you shop at Tesco, if you've got points, you can get them for 60 quid, which is pretty amazing. And the screen on Tesco Huddle is really good now. I mean, it's not as good performance as an Nexus 7 or anything, but it's good enough to play with. For 60 quid, again, it's a pretty good tablet. I'm pretty impressed with it. And one of the good things about the Tesco Huddle is that it supports plugging devices in. Like you can plug USB, OTG, and that sort of thing into it to control external devices. Whereas the ASUS Memo can't do that. It doesn't support it, so don't get an ASUS Memo. Sorry, I've gone off topic. You said.
I was just wondering what your kind of
your
long game was.
Okay, so the long game is, yes, it will become part of my business. I'm only looking at the moment for it to fund itself. So when I release the Pro version, I'm hoping I'll have enough money coming in from the Pro version to recoup my losses so far, which is probably a few £1,000s. Probably more than that, actually, with the time that I've done on it. But I'm hoping long term, it'll sustain itself and might even make a profit.
Cool.
Who knows? But I won't be putting all my eggs in one basket, so I will be continuing to write mobile applications, which will in itself benefit Android script, because every time I write the new app for the smartwatch. I'm planning to do lots of different smart devices as well. I'm going to do the Samsung devices as well, and the Pebble. As I add those, they'll get chucked in there as well. So it's sort of like a side project, but hopefully it will eventually become something that pays for itself.
What are its limitations? So, at what point would you say, no, this isn't appropriate, I'm going to have to go native?
Probably, when you hit the performance, probably for things like very fast, very busy games, you're going to hit a performance issue. But for simple sort of games, it'll be fine. I'm doing an animated book for a teacher in lower stuff as well. I'm working with him on an animated book. Fine for that sort of thing. Fine for simple space invaders games. If you were doing three-dimensional things like that, you wouldn't. I don't have a 3D library for a start. I don't support access to OpenGL at the moment, but they do, or someone might want to write a plugin. There are bottlenecks, of course. Writing a plugin, you've got to come through JavaScript, and you've got to go across the boundary from the JavaScript browser world into the native world. What I try and do is push as much as I can down into the native world. In the cameras, for example, with the camera, the motion detection, I push that right down into C++. So I'm doing C++ work down below Java, because the Java itself isn't fast enough to do decent rate image processing. So I can push things down, I can add things, but you're dependent on me at that point. If you're going to write a really complex game with three-dimensional graphics in it, I would say don't use this. I'm planning to put a physics engine in there, box 2D probably, which means you've got to do physics games. And of course, these devices are fast and fast. I'm surprised every time a new device comes out, it's just so fast. I can't believe you can do it in JavaScript. Some of the things you can see. You should see that speed test I was saying running on the Sony Z1 Ultra. It's amazing how fast it can run. It's like 4 times faster than my S4 because it's a newer device. It's only like 8 months newer, but it's so fast. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think JavaScript's going to become more and more popular because of the speed of devices. It's so much easier to write code in JavaScript, and particularly a lot of people are very familiar with the web development, JavaScript development, and it's easier to get into generally, isn't it? It's more accessible than C++. You have to write pointers and things like that. And I think we'll see more and more. And Google's pushing it, and you've got Node as well coming up. So there's JavaScript there. But you've got JavaScript embedded in there's at least 2 microcontrollers I know that run JavaScript as well. That one and another one in the States. That, by the way, was a kick. The Espruino was a Kickstarter project. He asked for 20 grand to get them built in China. He got over 100 grand. There's that much interest in it. You've got JavaScript. You've got Chrome apps as well. Has everyone looked at Chrome apps? It's pretty cool actually. You can take your JavaScript or your HTML-based app, web page, wrap it in a Chrome app, just add a little ini file effectively to it, and it becomes an app on Chrome. It downloads, but it can access native functionality. So you can access a serial port. That's how the Espruino talks to a Chrome app on there. You can access your Espruino serial port. You can access Wi-Fi. You can access all sorts of hardware bits and bobs. It has a similar way of handling security as Android does. So when you download an app and run it, it says, do you want to allow it to access your serial port, your Wi-Fi, and this sort of thing. If you say yes, then you can. So then you've got a completely platform-independent way of accessing hardware on devices as well, using JavaScript and web technologies. It's pretty cool. So I'll probably be doing a Chrome app next as well. It's worth looking into though, because then you can run on Macs, you can run on Linux, you can run on Chromebooks, Android. Not Android, because Chrome apps don't run on Android yet.
So you're saying that using the same script, you potentially be able to use it cross-platform?
I may confuse you there. Android script will not work on PCs or Chromebooks. I've just talked more generally about JavaScript. JavaScript itself can be used on different platforms. Now, Android script currently is only on Android tablets and phones, so that is a limitation. That's one of the limitations of it. You won't be writing any apps for Apple devices. So that might be a limitation people don't like. One of the reasons I've chosen to stick with Android is because I like plugging stuff in. And trying to get those sort of things working on iPhones is almost impossible because they're just so restrictive. But if you look at the way it's going at the moment, I think Android devices far outnumber Apple devices now. It's something like 80% of mobile phones. So it's a huge market. One of the problems with Android world though is have to give some away free. That's partly why I gave AndoScript away free, because people would be interested if I charge even 90p for it on Android. You have to give it very, very cheap or free to make any money or get any interest. So, but then once you've got some interest, then you can start charging what you need to. That's what hopefully that will work with the pro version. Once they know AndoScript's a good product, they'll hopefully give me a little bit of cash.
What are your downloads up to now?
Last time I looked, it was 21,000 downloads on AndoScript, so it's fairly healthy, and it's growing at 1,700 a week. I'm getting 1,700 downloads a week, and that's growing really well. It was only 1,000 about a month ago, 2 months ago, so it's accelerating at the moment. It's nice to see as the word spreads.
Is it just word of mouth or the marketing?
I'm not doing any marketing, so it's word of mouth. I've got a Twitter account and a website. I do plan to do a little bit at some point, but when I'm really happy with it, I think when I've got this KitKat release out and I've sorted the KitKat problems, because a lot of people are getting upgrades to KitKat now, and I've sorted all those problems, I just need to tidy up and release it, and then I'll be more confident. I'm a bit wary of pushing it too much at the moment, because I might get some negative press because of the KitKat issues. But now I've sorted those, I might put in some little ads in the Google ads or something like that, possibly. But again, that's going to cost me money, and at the moment it's a big loss. It's running at a big loss. Depends how much it costs. It shouldn't cost hopefully too much. But yeah, I'm willing to invest some in that, so I probably will do a little bit of marketing.
Have you considered crowdfunding?
I have. I got very close to crowdfunding this. I got so close, I built the whole Kickstarter page, prices, rewards, everything, and got that finger over the button and never pressed it. One of the reasons is, a friend of mine, I say a friend, is an acquaintance. I like to think he's a friend. The guy who built the Esprino, he just finished his Kickstarter, very successful Kickstarter project. And I was talking to him about it at an IoT meeting in Oxford, which was Internet of Things again. He's up in Cambridge as well soon, I think.
It was last week.
It was last week, yeah. Gordon, did you meet Gordon?
No, I missed it.
Yeah. Anyway, he told me about the amount of hassle he gets. Once you've got thousands of people who are expecting something from you and expecting something from their money, and he gets thousands of emails and a lot of idiots emailing him as well, and it's just, he's buried under emails, and I can't even get emails through to him or answer my emails, because he just sort of, he looks at his email inbox in the morning and goes, oh my god, I can't cope with it. And not only that's the pressure on you, because you've got thousands of people expecting a product to perform how you promised. I just chickened out basically. I thought I'll try it this way, and what I'll do is, because I've still got contract work for Towers. I work for Towers. That's paying enough at the moment for me to do this without making any money out of it. But when that contract finishes, it may be a case of going to Kickstarter and just buying the bullet. We'll see.
If you get a big enough fund, you can afford to pay for an administrator to handle the email.
Well, that's right. Yeah. That's the thing. But I'm just scared of that. I'm
build it into your model.
I get enough hassle from my users already, you know. I can imagine hundreds of thousands of them hassling me. So it's something I may have to do. I'm certainly thinking about it. Like I said, my finger was over that button. It just never pressed it. Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks.